everyone, to the Mike Rogers Show. Mike Rogers here with you, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Roger Marshall. He's like the grandfather of all foreigners in Japan. He's been here for like 170 years or something like that. But before we get to Mr. Marshall, go down here and click like and subscribe. And if you would like to listen to the Mike Rogers Show Japanese Indies, the link is down here. So right now, let's go to Mr. Roger Marshall. Roger! Hey, welcome everyone to the Mike Rogers Show. Mike Rogers here with you. And today, I have a very special guest for all you Japanophiles, Mr. Roger Marshall. Roger is, I think, the grandpa of all foreigners living in Japan, because he's been here since like the 1840s or something like that. He's been here a long time. So give a big hand, everybody, to Mr. Roger Marshall. Roger, hey, how are you?
Mike, it's great to see you. I'm feeling fine.
Yeah. So where are you now? Are you in Shimoda?
I'm in Shimoda. I'm in my house in Shimoda, working remote as everybody does these days. And we had when everybody went remote, I had the opportunity to work either from my home in Tokyo and be surrounded by houses all around me and look out and see the wall next to my house, or to be here in Shimoda on the beach. So that was an easy one.
Yeah, I don't think that would be very take more than like a half a second of thinking. So Roger, can you first, what we're going to do is we're going to do this show in two parts. Oh, everyone, I got to tell you, if you like this video, click like and subscribe to the Mike Rogers Show, please. And also, don't forget to listen to the Mike Rogers Show. Links are down here. And we're going to have links to Roger's stuff, too, listed down here when this video comes up, like in a week or something like that. Roger, can you introduce yourselves to us? Tell us the whole story.
Oh my God, this will go forever. Stop me if I go too long.
Okay.
So, where do you want me to start? You want me to start where I was born, or when I came to Japan? What do you want to?
You were in the military, right? You were in the military.
Yeah.
And after you got out of the military, you stayed here?
Well, what happened was I go back a little bit further before that. I was born in Pennsylvania in the United States. I went to Penn State University for 1 year, College of Science, School of Botany, which today they call biotech. And I've suddenly realized how much mathematics is involved in applied biochemistry.
Oh, yeah.
And that was not me. Believe me, that was absolutely not me. So in those days, if I wanted to take a semester off of school, which you can do easily today, it wasn't so easy then, because the Army was waiting to get us young guys and send us off to Vietnam.
Oh.
So I didn't think that was a great idea. I was interested in aviation. And I went to talk to the Air Force, and they said there's a 1.5 year waiting list. So I ended up in the Navy, naval aviation, and was trained as an air traffic controller, and then had a choice of places to go around the world. Thing is, I'm from the East Coast. My mother was from Germany, and one of my choices was Japan. I thought that was far away and exotic back in those days. So
wow.
I came to Japan.
In the military. You were in the military then.
I was in the Navy. I was at Sugi, the Naval Air Station, worked there and lived in Yokohama. Actually hung out on the beach in Shonan quite a bit. And then I was in Japan I was a teenager when I got here.
Wow.
And I worked for 2 years. Then I was in the US and lived on an island off the coast of Southern California for about 1.5 years. That was also Navy. And then my duty was done, and it was time to go back to university. And instead of going back to Penn State, I decided I wanted to see more of Japan as a student rather than as a naval person. So I came back to Japan, went to Sophia University, Jochi Daigaku in Tokyo. And that was supposed to be for 1 or 2 years. And here I am. somehow that 1 or 2 years just rolled over into decades. And,
wow.
And here I.
So, what year was that you started in Jochi?
That was the early 70s.
Wow. You know, I've been here for almost 40 years, and I know you do too. Most of the foreigners who've been here, you are the most respected and the considered like the grandfather of all foreigners in Japan. I mean, Matthew Perry might be a little bit older, yeah, I'm sure, but in the modern day, you are like the guy who knows everything about what to do, where to go, who to talk to here in Japan.
You're putting a lot of pressure on me, Mike. I don't know everything, don't know everybody, but I have been around for a while.
Yeah, so, okay, so after you graduated from Sophia, don't you needed a visa to stay in Japan, right? How did you do that?
Yeah, that's a good point. So I had a student visa, and actually, when I came here, I didn't even have a student visa. I had to leave Japan a couple of times, flew over to Korea to apply for visas, and so I got the student visa. Then when I graduated, I went to work for a small company in Aoyama, and they became my sponsor for a business visa. And whoa. I was there for a number of years. So I found a company to sponsor me for the business visa. Worked there for a number of years, and then 2 other guys and I left and set up our own company, and ran that for about 3 years. And then I ended up joining KPMG, which then was called Pete Marwick Mitchell, but KPMG is one of the big, currently called the Big Four, then it was the Big Eight, audit and consulting firms. And again, seeing as I'm not so great on mathematics,
right?
I didn't become an accountant. I was on the consulting side and ran one of the consulting practices for Japan and set that up in Korea as well.
And then, Roger, are you married? Do you have kids?
I am both. I am married and I have kids, and so I've got 3, and they're pretty big now as well. They've gone through international schools here and universities, and they're pretty much out on their own right now. And luckily, they're all back in Japan.
Really? Yeah, very luckily.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They have a U.S. and a Japanese visa. They have both.
They do. So they've both of them. Well, I have to be very careful what I say because.
Yeah, I know.
But let's say that they have an American father and a Japanese mother, and they were born in Japan. So they certainly have the Japanese passports, and they have deep roots in the U.S. as well.
So okay, so you're, from what you just told me, you're an expert on being able to come here and leave here and come back here, and an expert on visas and passports and all this sort of thing.
Oh my goodness! Oh, you're taking this way out of context. I'm not an expert on it. I've gone through it.
Well, you know more than almost everybody. So let's say I know now we have the COVID problem, and there's a lot of people who want to come and live in Japan. What is the difference between coming to vacation in Japan for a couple of weeks and coming to live here for, like, let's just say an average American?
Wow, that's a deep subject, Mike. I would imagine, like, visiting any new culture, any new country. It's great to be a visitor, to be a tourist. You get to do a lot of fun stuff. You travel around, you see all the great sights. Maybe if you're lucky, you make some new friends, but then you're gone. And so there's no real responsibility to the country or the culture. But if you actually come somewhere to live, it's a lot better, I think, for everyone. and also much more challenging to actually then learn about that culture and respect some of the traditions which might be different from wherever you come from, and make an effort. And I think to show, particularly showing that you're making an effort to understand and fit in is really important, and particularly in a place like Japan, which tends to be pretty significantly different culturally from most Western cultures. That I assume that's what we're talking about. Somebody coming in from Europe or the UK or US is there's a pretty significant difference in the cultures and the attitudes. So make an effort to learn about it, and you don't need to become Japanese, but at least try.
Yeah. So the most important thing is, if you're moving here, you have to learn the language.
Make an effort for. I mean, again, it's one of the more difficult languages because it's not related linguistically to most other Western languages. But certainly take the time to take some lessons, make some friends, make the effort to speak to the degree possible, and that's highly appreciated. Really appreciate that when people are making that effort. It's Mike. I know that you may be thinking, as I am, there's some people that probably both of us know who have lived in Japan for decades and basically speak about 3 or 4 words of poorly pronounced Japanese. And one of them being beer and taxi and maybe a couple of other.
Well, my point is, I think some people will maybe watch this video and they want to get tips from you. And I know there's a lot of people who want to move here. And when I talk to them, I'm usually like, well, you may not want to move here. It all depends, But yeah, I know lots of people who've been here for decades and they can't speak Japanese at all. But でもあなたはできるでしょ?
できますよ.
Yeah, できます. So, well, that's the Japanese lesson for you. できます means I can do it. So, okay. So, let's talk about your job. What you do for work. I'm kind of confused about what your job is. I've heard of headhunters, like people who go out to companies, or not companies, to go out and find people to plug into some client company who needs some worker. But you're not a headhunter, but it seems like it's kind of headhunting. Can you explain the difference to somebody who doesn't know?
Yeah, Mike, that's a really good point, and something that is very confusing, because on the surface, what you first described looks very similar on the surface to what we do. And without getting too technical, essentially what you described is mainly it's a very, very good and very important service to help people find jobs. So you need a company that needs to hire somebody, and you need people who are looking for work and or who are interested in changing their job, and that's what we normally call headhunters do. What we do is there's some element of that. There's a very small number of companies globally. There's maybe, I don't know, 10 or 12 companies globally that work along the lines of what we do. Corporations will pay us a consulting fee in advance to help them understand really what their leadership needs are. And we work at let's say in Japan, it might be the head of Japan for a Western multinational company. We do work for Japanese corporations that are doing something similar outside of Japan. But they have a pretty good idea what they want to accomplish, what their strategy is and what their endpoint is. We will work with them to help them maybe refine what their leadership needs are to actually get there. And then we will we do go out and we talk to people who meet those say experiential requirements. They've run companies globally or in Japan for years. The very best people almost always are very highly successful already where they are. They're pretty satisfied, and they're not looking for something new. So
if I need a job at a convenience store, I don't go to look for you guys. I don't ask you guys.
That would probably not be our sweet spot. Right.
So you're so a headhunter would, I guess, hire more mid-level management people, right? And then you're going to hire CEOs and company presidents and people like that.
That's a pretty simple explanation of what we do. Yeah, there's in some cases there's a little bit of overlap, but basically yes, we're at the top leadership levels, and the people we talk with, it's extremely rare that let's say, Mike, you're the CEO of your company, you are famous, you have shows all around the world.
No money. I make no money.
That's what all the wealthiest people say is, I make no money. So if I or one of my people would call you up and say, Mike, we've got this great job being a DJ somewhere, but you've got to leave where you are and join this new company, chances are you would not really be very interested in that, because initially, so we would really then have to explain to you why this is such an outstanding opportunity. What is different about this? What's going to be so much greater for you than what you're currently doing? And that's not easy, because you're doing something really great. That's pretty much the type of situation we have. Somebody who's already highly successful running a business, we talk to them and they say, thanks for calling me, but I'm doing really well. I love what I'm doing. It's great. So that's basically the classic sales conundrum. The real sales starts when someone says, no, thank you. And then, so we really need to understand our client. We need to understand their business, their strategy, where they're going, so we can explain to someone like you what's going to be so special about this opportunity versus the already successful role that you're doing.
Okay, so the talk, we're in the middle of the talk, but we're going to have to split these videos up into two because they're getting too long. But that was part one with Mr. Roger Marshall. And tomorrow we will have part two, continue with Mr. Rogers with Roger Marshall. So stay tuned for that. Click like, click subscribe, check the links down here, how to get a hold of Roger and how to listen to my radio show. Okay, see you tomorrow.